what's up?
The last time Jennette McCurdy was in the media was to promote her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. The book detailed her traumatic childhood, dealing with a mother who had a multitude of mental health issues. She described being pushed into acting even though she didn't want to, and how her mother was overbearing and abusive towards her. She also explained her experience working with Nickelodeon and her co-stars, leaving out a major detail about her relationship with an older man who worked on the set of Icarly. This is a new revelation she is sharing now with the promotion of her new book that is loosely based on her own experiences.
He asks me about my future, and I ask him about his past, and something in that feels heavy. The assumption that my life is ahead of me, and his is behind him. That 20 years is the difference between a life that's considered yet to be lived and one that's considered over.
Jennette sat down with Call Her Daddy and spoke about her relationship with a screenwriter from Icarly when she was 18. This person was 21 years her senior. Her fans actually clocked this relationship in the past. She said in a Vulture article that people online would make rude comments about him and say, what a creep to have had an eye on her for so long, but they didn't know the whole story. That's an instance where I really resented social media because I thought these people are making it hard on me. These comments were made in 2015. Now Jennette has grown up and she has more life experience. She sees now how inappropriate this relationship was. It was a grooming situation because Jennette didn't realize till later how weird and odd the dynamic was. He would tell her things like how she's so mature for her age and so different from other girls, even though he was in a full-blown relationship and lived with his girlfriend.
How did you guys meet? You met through
work.
Yes.
There's nowhere to meet anybody else. All I did was work.
You met at work.
Yeah.
So you are a young actor at the time. Were you 17 when you met him? 16?
I think I was 18 by the time he started working on the show. I think. I'm not sure about that. It's possible I was younger, but I was at least 8. I was most likely 18.
And how did this relationship start?
A lot of like hanging out on set, a lot of hanging around the writers. We would hang out in the writers' room after work. He would show me movies that he thought I would like Dazed and Confused, which I did not like, but I pretended to like. He would play me music that he liked, which I did not like, but I pretended to like. So he just comes over really drunk and we like make out, and it's a lot of drinking. And it's that for months. And I tell him, you know, at that point I was still I was no longer going to church, but I was still kind of tied to my Mormon roots and didn't want before marriage and didn't feel ready for that. And I certainly was not in terms of maturity. And so he and I just made out a lot and kind of, you know, dry a lot. Very high school.
What do you remember about how you felt about the age gap?
Thinking that I was mature, thinking that I was so smart that this could happen. And also, I hadn't really felt a deep connection with anybody my age at that point yet. I remember thinking like, oh yeah, there's just something about me that's a little different. Like, I'm special. Like, that's what it felt like for me. I'm special. I can connect with older people. Younger people aren't on my wavelength. Like, please.
And how did he talk about it and justify it?
Like that. Like fucking that. It was, you know, you're so mature. I can't talk to anyone this way. I can't believe how smart you are. Like, are you kidding me? I was such an idiot. I'm so embarrassed. Also, how humiliating that he thought that was smart or even used it as being smart as a manipulation tactic, because how stupid of him.
He had a girlfriend while you were seeing him.
While I was seeing him, yes. While the dry hump makeout sessions were happening, he had a girlfriend that he lived with.
That he lived with. So where were you guys hanging out?
My apartment.
And how did he explain the girlfriend to you?
That, you know, he's in a relationship and oh man, I can't believe. Okay, yeah, it was tricky because it was initially positioned to me as sort of like I'm not going to leave her. I'm not going to leave her, but I want this, which is, I mean, come on, right? I'm not going to leave, but I want to pursue this with you. So it's like, don't get your hopes up. I can have my cake and eat it too, but you can't. You're going to not have any cake, but I get to have my cake and eat it too. And this went on for, I think we started after, like, the physical relationship began in maybe August. And by October, November, I was starting to feel like I can't do this anymore. Like, it's too difficult to want something this bad, to feel this at the disposal of someone else's kind of whims and availabilities. And it's these half-hour pockets here and there. And like, I just have to be at his every beck and call. And when he calls and I'll go, whatever. And it was just exhausting. It was exhausting.
In many ways, this man took full advantage of Jennette and manipulated her. From her perspective, he was caring to some degree when it came to the dynamic between her and her mom. Knowing how obsessively abusive and manipulating her mother was, he catered to that relationship, but in his own way manipulated Jennette to get what he wanted. She paid off some of his debts. He was a drunk. He cried to her about breaking up with his girlfriend for her. He would emotionally influence her to do sexual acts, knowing she didn't want to lose her virginity because of her religion. He basically played and toyed with her feelings like her mom did. So in a lot of ways, he was no different.
Joe stumbles in after me and immediately collapses onto the bed. At first, I think he must be really tired, until he rolls over onto his back and I can see that there are tears streaming down his cheeks. His chest heaves. He makes that gross hiccupy cry sound. What's the matter? What's the matter? What have I done? What have I done? He sobs. We were together for 5 years. 5 years. We just moved in together. We were going to get married. I lie down next to him and hug him. I'm the big spoon. He rattles on about his regret and remorse. If I were good enough, he wouldn't be feeling this way. He wouldn't be sad. I thought you wanted this, I say, looking for reassurance. You won't even have sex with me. He wails. It's true. I won't have sex with him. Even though my family stopped going to church, there are still a few rules of the religion that for whatever reason I can't bring myself to break. One of them being no sex before marriage. We've been seeing each other for the past 3 months. We keep things secretive at work, which really causes the tension to build up. Then after work most nights, we get together for a few hours. At his place if his girlfriend's not around, at his friend's place if she is. We've made out and rubbed on each other, but we've never had sex and I've never even touched his penis. I'm sorry, I'm just not ready, I tell him with a finality that makes me proud. Well, can you give me a blowjob at least? Joe lifts his head off the bed like a hopeful, needy puppy. I don't want to do that. Joe throws his head back onto the pillow and the tears are replaced with a sharp anger. This is ridiculous, my needs aren't being met. We can make out, I offer. I don't want to make out, I'm 32 years old. I feel stupid for suggesting the idea, and embarrassed for not being sexually advanced enough to meet Joe's needs. Even though I'm 18, I feel like a child. You're too young for me, this is never gonna work. Joe starts to get up off the bed. Okay, I'll do it, I say, immediately disappointed in myself. Joe lies back down and sprawls out lazily like he's already over the idea but might as well go forward with it since we're both here. He unzips his pants and pulls out his penis. I look at it for a long time. What am I supposed to do? I've never done this before. Yeah, it's not a turn on when you say shit like that. I've seen a certain shortness to Joe at times, but this feels different. I could justify his behavior as him being drunker than normal. Since I've never had alcohol myself, other than that splash of the Creator spiked coffee, this is hard for me to gauge, so I usually just guess how much he's had by how crooked he's walking or how slurred his words are. I could also justify his behavior as him being overwhelmed with grief from his breakup, but honestly, I don't even need to justify it as anything because I'm so desperate to be with him. He's so much older than me and cooler than me, and I've never felt this way about anyone before, so I know he must have something special. I dive forward, and then I start doing it. Licking it and sucking it and hoping that's what I'm supposed to be doing and hoping I'm doing it in a way that's pleasurable to him. But I have no idea. I've been an actor for a dozen years. I'm nothing without direction. I'm about to finish, Joe says with a gasp. Sounds like it's a good thing. I don't know what's about to happen. Speed it up a little. Thank you, I say. Direction. And then suddenly, something that tastes like warm liquid plastic shoots into my mouth. I spit it out onto the bedspread. Something came out! Oh my god, something just came out! Yeah, it's cum. Joe looks at me with dull annoyance. What's cum? Joe turns on his side, facing away from me, and clutches a pillow tight to his chest. He takes a long breath. What have I done? He asks.
This guy that Jennette called Joe in her memoir, his name is Paul Glacier. In the end, Jennette ended up losing her virginity and eventually broke up with him, thinking to herself how much of a loser he really was. Based off the excerpt in her book, I actually agree. These grown men with childlike manipulation tactics that prey on naive girls are bottom barrel losers. A lot of these situations happen at networks because you're around these people every single day. Jennette admitted herself that she didn't have any dating experience and she didn't know how she was going to date considering she worked all the time. Liz Gillies was a teenager when she met her now husband Michael on the set of Victorious. Michael is a music producer who helped produce the majority of the soundtracks for Dan Schneider's shows.
What about the Chicago one?
Great.
My
husband wrote that. Chicago.
What?
Of course, he wrote all the songs for Victorious. He wrote all of, well, not all of them. I shouldn't say that. We brought in a lot of people like season, but he wrote a lot of them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's a genius. What else has he written?
He wrote the Drake and Josh theme song, the iCarly theme song. He was one of the writers on the Victorious theme song. And then he scored Zoe 1 and Drake and Josh, iCarly, Sam and Cat theme song. That's him singing on it. Yeah.
Liz and Michael married in 2020, and he's over 20 years older than her. It does come off very weird when the person you marry, you met when you were a teenager. Jennette has grown from the experience, and this is her cautionary tale. You guys should check out her novel, Half His Age, and listen to the Call Her Daddy podcast yourself to hear Jennette's story. Thank you for tuning in, and let me know in the comments what you think about this video. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Toodles.